Hello and welcome to the second installment of Best Commander in Blank, where blank is the set. This time we're doing Aetherdrift, and before we get into the deck, which I'm calling Naya Speed, let's look at some of the other commanders. So I just went Scryfall here, set DFT, type legendary creature, and I'll talk a little bit about the other, I think, what were my other considerations. So there's Ashik, who is a Gruul commander. He gets +1/+1. That's not Gruul. I don't care what that is. Gets +1/+1, or when he enters, he makes a bunch of insects for the amount of artifact creatures in your graveyard, and when they die, he gets big, and each one lose 1 life. There was this Is It discard deck that I thought about making. Ketramos obviously seems interesting. Loot is a good teamer commander. I've already made decks with Mendicant and Sabsunin, so those don't really work. Mimeoplasm is interesting, but I like the other Mimeoplasms more. I think those were really like the big considerations. A lot of them are good in the 99 cards, but by themselves, I don't think they do enough to carry an entire commander deck. Like Cullinan, for example, good example. Or I think Gonti, Mono Black Theft, and whatever. There's probably better Theft commanders. So let's go to the deck. Samut. First strike, vigilance, haste, start your engines. Other creatures get +X/+0, where X is your speed, and non-creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is your speed. All you want to do is you get your speed, and then make all your dudes big, and make all your artifacts and non-creatures cheaper. And the deck is running a lot of vehicles, so we're doing a vehicle strategy. There's also little sub-themes of like creating tokens, because all your tokens will get bigger too, which is nice. Obviously, like the mobilize mechanic from Dragonstorm is a good mechanic for this card, but unfortunately in these colors you can't really use it too much. Let's go through the artifacts first. Alacrian Armory creatures get +0/+1, have vigilance, which is nice for all your vehicles. And then at the beginning of combat, you can make a vehicle into an artifact creature, or a mount into a saddled mount, but yeah, just vehicle into an artifact creature for this deck. So that's nice, you don't have to tap anything. Arcane Signet's in here, obviously, just because it's an Arcane Signet. Careening Mindcard's in here as a vehicle, but also as a ramp spell, because your commander's 5 and the deck is pretty heavily influenced by your commander being on board. Any way to ramp it out quickly is a really big boost. So yeah, 3 mana, 3/3, crew on when it attacks, make a treasure. Clown Car, later on when you have like 4 speed and your commander on board, this is just you're automatically casting it for 4. Obviously you can cast it for more as a mana sink. It just makes 1/1s and puts 1/1 counters on the Clown Car. Cultivator Caravan, 3 mana. It's essentially a mana rock that can become a body later on, which is nice. Cybership, 6 mana, 8/8. Flying, when it deals combat damage to a player, you steal the top 2 cards of their library, put them face down under your control. They're 2/2 Cybermen, so they aren't manifested, you can't flip them over, but they are just 2/2s, which are 6/2s with max speed, and they help clear things or just swing for game. It's also just flying, and it can become 2 mana, so yeah, this is a good card. Guidelight Matrix, 2 mana when it enters, draw a card, so it already cycles itself for 2, which is great. And you can pay 2, tap it to have a vehicle become an artifact creature. Another one of those effects to help you swing with your vehicles. Infantry Shield is a new Tarkir card. This card's pretty crazy. Fun fact, it's using the Mobilize mechanic, which I was talking about. So a creep creature has Menace and Mobilize X, where X is its power. Obviously, when your commander is giving like 4 power to any of your big artifact creatures that are vehicles, it will mobilize for a lot. So let's say you swing with an 8/8 that's mobilized with Mobilize X, that's making 8 1/1s. Those 1/1s are now 5/5s or 5/1s because of your speed. If your commander's on board, you're suddenly hitting for 40 extra damage because you have 1 8/8 on board. So very, very strong, or not even 8/8, it'd be a 4/4. Yeah, very, very strong card in the deck. Lumbering World Wagon, 3 mana. Its power is equal to the number of lands you control, which is whatever. It's mainly 3 mana. When it enters or attacks, you search your library for a base land, put it on the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. This is just ramp. Nodloid Ship, 4 mana, 5/5. When it enters, you exile a player's graveyard, and when it deals combat damage, you can put a creature card exiled with Nodloid Ship under your control. So you can steal something from the big green player. You can kind of just hit like the Black Self Mill deck and take some of their important pieces, and if you want to play some of them. Parhelion, there's just a great card in every vehicle deck from what I know. 8 mana 5/5. When it attacks, you make 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying vigilance that are also attacking. With max being your commander on board, this is swinging for 9 and 2 more 8s, so that's 27 damage. It's also only 4 mana at that point, which is very, very strong. Peace Walker Colossus, 3 mana 6/6. You can pay 2 any amount of times to have vehicles become artifact creatures. This is really nice in case you don't see anything to tap your vehicles. And it's just kind of a mana sink that you can use however many times you want on however many artifacts. Perilous Snares to start your engines card because you don't want to rely on a 5 mana commander being the thing to start your engines. You'd hopefully like to start them earlier in the game. This is just 3 mana. When it enters, you exile non-land permanent and opponent controls under this artifact until it leaves the battlefield, and then you can tap it at max speed to put a 1/1 on a vehicle. Activate only as a sorcery. Cool. Raise your scoreboard, 4 mana, start your engines. When it enters, you draw 2 discarded cards, so it's like Cathartic Reunions effect where it kind of cycles itself, or it's discard 2, draw 2 from hand. But like it's 4 mana. And then max speed, spells cost 1 less to cast, which is nice. Reaver Titan, 7 mana 10/10, protection from mana value 3 or less. Unfortunately, this card doesn't have trample. I kind of wish it did. Whenever it attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. So even if it does get blocked, it will trigger your speed. Obviously, speed only goes up to 4, so you'll probably have max speed by the time you play this card. But if you don't, it's a good way to get speed later on, if it gets blocked. Reckoner Bankbuster, 2 mana 4/4. It enters with 3 charge counters. You can pay 2, tap it, remove a charge counter, draw a card, and then if there are no charge counters, you make a pilot that can crew 2 or greater and a charge token. So that's nice. It's also just a 2 mana 4/4 crew 3, which is a nice defender earlier on because you want to be able to play things before you're playing your commander. Rolling Hamster, 7 mana 4/4. It gets +1/+1 for each hamster you control, and when it attacks, you make 3 1/1 red hamsters. Then it deals X damage to any target, works as the number of hamsters you control. This is just like a very solid card in the deck. You want a lot of tokens, and this is on every attack. You're making 3 1/1 red hamsters, which on future turns will be 1/1s that I can, or 5/1s that you can either use to crew or attack with. It's also removal when attacking by dealing 3 and then 6 and then 9. And it just gets big. So it's already like a 7 mana 7/7. Again, no trample. Kind of unlucky. It's a big hamster ball. You'd assume it to trample, but maybe the picture's just out of proportion because hamsters aren't that big. Salvation Engine, 5 mana 6/10, which is a crazy style line. Crew 6, which is probably why, but other artifact creatures you control get +2/+2. So this is already like a better Lord effect. It's a great anthem, even if it's still an artifact. And then whenever it attacks, you can return up to 1 artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is also just recursion, which is nice. Sovereign or Sky Sovereign Console Flagship, 5 mana 6/5. When it enters or attacks, deals 3 to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So this is good removal. It also hits planeswalkers, which is nice because you don't have to waste your attacks over killing the planeswalker. You can instead just ping it down 3 every turn, and it'll most likely never hit like an ultimate status. And yeah, for crew 3, and it's flying, so it's easy to get hits in with it. It's a good card. Smuggler's Copter, 2 mana 3/3 flying. When it attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Good way to cycle if you're breaking, and yeah, it's a 2 mana 3/3 flyer, which is nice, and it's an early play. Soul Ring is in the deck because it's Soul Ring. Yeah. Spire, Mech Cycle, Haste, Exhaust, tap another untapped mana or vehicle to have this vehicle become an artifact creature, and then you put a 1/1 counter on it for each mount and or vehicle you control other than this vehicle. So this is just like a 5 mana. You can exhaust it in the turn it's played by tapping another mount or vehicle that you probably weren't going to attack with, and then it just gets really, really big and attacks somebody. Unfortunately, no trample. If it was, it'd be a pretty good finisher card in this deck probably. But without it, it's just an all-right card. That's a vehicle, so it's playable in the deck for essentially 1 mana at max speed. Starting Column, 3 mana Mana Rock that also starts your engines, and at max speed you can sack it to draw 2 and discard a card, which is nice. Once you have enough mana, you don't need this anymore. Pridewind Steel Flagship, 2 mana with max speed. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, like all your vehicles, you make a 2/2 white human knight creature token, and it gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact enters the battlefield under your control this turn. This is good for swinging later on. It's just kind of a token generator. It can also help crew your things. It crews itself on future turns if you play another non-token artifact. So yeah, this is a good card. Thunderhawk Gunship, 6 mana, 6/6 flying. When it enters, you make 2/2s with Vigilance. And then when it attacks, attacking creatures gain flying until the end of turn. So if an opponent doesn't have flying, this can just kill them by making all your big vehicles that are attacking into flyers. Thunder's Velocipede, it's a 3 mana 5/5 with Trample, crew 3, and each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter if its mana value is 4 or less. If otherwise, so if it's 4 or it's greater than 4, it enters with 3 1/1 counters on it. So it's just making everything bigger, which is nice. It's also a trampler, and for crew 3, it can swing for 9 with max speed. It's a good card. Unlicensed Hearse, I love this card. This card was a all-star in some format. I can't remember what, but I remember seeing it in decks at one point. You can tap it to exile 2 target cards from a single graveyard. So it's graveyard hate, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards exiled with it in crew 2. So if you play this down early, this can just slowly get very, very big, and then just like be a massive threat later on in the game. Unfortunately, no trample. This is a common theme. Weatherlight, 4 mana, free with max speed, which is cool. It has flying, crew 3. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a historic card, which is an artifact, a saga, or a legendary. Among them, put them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is just kind of card advantage on a card, which is nice, because the deck will run out of cards when you're just playing everything from your hand for 4 reduced mana cost. On to the creatures, we got Aeronaut Admiral. This is a 4 mana 3/1. Flying and vehicles you control have flying. This is just a good way to make all your vehicles flying, because it really helps with winning games. And Impakal, 1000th Moon, is in the deck, as he is in every, I feel, like kind of tokeny aggro deck. So whenever you attack with one or more non-gnome creatures, you put a 1/1 on an Impakal. Then you make X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, or X's number of 1/1 counters on an Impakal. So there's just every turn slowly getting bigger, slowly making more 1/1 gnomes, which with max speed are 5/1 gnomes that are just attacking every turn. It's a really good aggro card. Anti-Flash the Veteran. This is kind of a weird card in the deck. I don't know how much I like it. It's a 6 mana 4/5 with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This can bring back, I don't know, your smaller creatures, or it can bring back some of your vehicles. It also has, whenever Anti-Flash becomes tapped, exile top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So it's an impulse draw when you like crew something. This is the main reason I'm running it, just for card advantage. I think there are probably better cards, but I'm not sure what I'd swap it out with right now. Burnout Bastronaut, 1 mana 1/1, Menace, start your engines. Main reason you're running it. You can also pay 2 to give him +1/+0 until end of turn, and at max speed he has double strike. Yeah, he's mainly just a start your engines for 1 mana, try and find it early. Ghidorah, Heart of Alakria. When it enters, you may search your library for a mounted vehicle card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. You're just probably finding the best card in your deck, which is probably like Parhelion, or depending on the state of the game, maybe something else, and putting it in your hand. And then if one or more 1/1 counters are put on a creature or vehicle you control, that many +1/+1/+1 are put on it instead. There are a lot of Selesnya themed like +1/+1 on mount and saddle cards, but I don't really want to take the deck in that direction. This is more in here just for a tutor to find a really good card. Cloudspark Captain, 3 mana 2/3, mounts vehicles get +1/+1, which is a nice little lord effect. And whenever this creature saddles and crews vehicles, those power was 2 or greater. So by default it crews 4, which is really nice for this deck. Endrider Spike Spitter, 4 mana 3/4, reach start your engines, which is probably why you're playing it. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, exile top card of your library. You may play that card this turn at max speed, so another just impulse draw effect. Goblin Surveyor, 3 mana trample, 3/2 start your engines, and max speed 3. You can exile it from your graveyard, draw a card. So it replaces itself later on in the game, and it starts your engines. Golden Triumph Gaster is a card I mentioned earlier. Mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature. So it's just a great way to aggro cards from your hand, especially at max speed, where you can just very easily dump everything. This is a very, very strong card in the deck. Kutzil, Malamet Exemplar. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. And then whenever one or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power and deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Because your commander's just buffing everything, this is a very, very strong card. I also just like the fact that your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. It's a great little protection piece. Next thing about 1 mana, 1/1, start your engines. And when it dies, you make a 1/1, so that's nice. Max speed, +1/+0, doesn't really matter. Ovia, Automatic Artisan. Each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample. And then for 1 and tap them, you can put a creature card or a vehicle card from your hand on the battlefield. If you put an artifact onto the battlefield this way, put 2/1/1 counters on it, so it's most likely your vehicles. Each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample is the main reason that this card is being run. Being able to cheat a card out from your hand isn't that important when your commander reduces things by 4. Yeah, it's mainly for the trample, but the second effects can be useful. Rip Spawn Hunter has survival, which is at the beginning of your second main phase if he's tapped. With this one, you reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is its power, max speed, that's 8. Put any number of creature and or vehicle cards with different powers from among them into your hands. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So there's just like really, really good card advantage when you're crewing a vehicle. We're playing the other Samut. Other creatures you control have haste. I just wanted a haste enable in this deck, and Samut kind of works. You can also pay a white, tap him to untap another creature. And double strike, vigilance, haste, flash. It's overall a pretty decent card. Voice of Victory. This is one of those other your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, but I'm mainly playing it besides the fact that it's a really good card for that. It has mobilize too, which is whenever it attacks, you make 2/1/1 attacking red warrior creature tokens. So you swing with this at max speed, you're swinging with 5/3, and then you're making 2 other 5/1s that are attacking. For 2 mana, that's just a very powerful effect. And even if you don't want to attack with this, you can use it to crew something, and then you still get the effect if your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is very strong. On the enchantments, Garruk's Uprising, because power creatures with power 4 or greater have just creatures you control have trample. Yeah, that's the entire reason I'm playing it. Whenever a creature you control with power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. Doesn't work on vehicles, unfortunately. And then when this enters, if you have 4 or greater, but yeah. I mean, like, your commander counts, and there might be a few cards, but not many. Kickoff Celebrations is 2 mana, start your engines. When it enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2. And at max speed, you can sack it to have creatures and vehicles gain haste until end of turn. Nice little haste enabler. Good way to cycle and get rid of a bad card to draw 2. And it starts your engines early. Outpace Oblivion, 3 mana, start your engines. When it enters, deals 5 to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. And you can pay 2 to sack it. It deals 2 damage to each player who doesn't have max speed, which is pretty much everybody at the commander table because nobody's playing with speed. Yeah, this is kind of just 3 mana removal, and it starts your engines, so it's playable. Point away, 1 mana, start your engines, and then you can pay 4, sack it, search your library for X basic lands, where X is your speed, put those on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. This affects better the later you wait, which is a little counterintuitive, because you want to ramp fast, not slow. So it's kind of just 1 mana, start your engines, and then once you hit 4, if you can just sit on 4 mana, you can sack it to ramp 4, which is nice. On the instance, Beast Within is removal, Boros Charm is player removal or permanent protection. Generous Gift is removal, Path to Exile is removal. Return to the Wild Speaker will just draw you a lot of cards. You can, I guess, buff all your vehicles +3/+3, but I think it's way better to just draw a lot of cards. Swords is removal, and then ignoring the lands for now, we're running 2 planeswalkers. The Chandra vehicle-based planeswalker. Beginning of combat, choose up to 1 target vehicle until the end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. So you can make any of the vehicles you played into just artifact creatures that are swinging on the turn they're played. +2, sack an artifact or discard a card to draw a card. So you can just +2 to cycle. You can pay 0 to make a 3/2 colorless vehicle with crew 1, which you can then go into combat with an attack. Or you can -7 to get an emblem that says whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. It's kind of whatever. It's mainly played for the first effect of being able to kind of give anything haste and attack. To ready Scrap Savant, you can mainly -2 sack an artifact to return an artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's the main reason I'm running it. You can also +2 discard up to 2 and draw that many, or -10 get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put in your graveyard from the battlefield. Return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step, which is pretty cool, but also probably like impossible to do with a 3 mana -10, or with like a 3 base -10. On the sorceries, Austere Command is a pretty good board wipe because you can just destroy all creatures 3 or less and 4 or greater, and then have all your vehicles live. You're never gonna choose artifacts, and enchantments is nice. Blasphemous Act, again, same thing, just won't hit your vehicles if they aren't brewed. Farseek, Nature's Lore are both ramp spells, push the limits, 7 mana, return all mount and creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, and vehicles you control become artifact creatures until end of turn. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. So this is a big finisher if your board's been wiped a few times. You can just kind of pay 7 mana, bring out a lot of power, and then just win the game off of it potentially. Rampant Growth is just ramp. Rich Cards Expertise, similar to the Return of the Wild Speaker. You're going to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then with this one you can cast a creature spell with mana value 5 or less, which is nice. 3 visits, ramp, United Battlefront, 4 mana. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I haven't seen this deck, or I haven't seen this card enough in this deck to know how consistent this is. But looking at the curve, having essentially, what is that, like 35 potential hits seems pretty good. Obviously, I'm not sure this would have those creatures and artifacts, but yeah. On the lands, this is a very expensive land base. This deck comes in at $210. The land base itself is $90, so you can kind of subtract that and just play something a lot more budget. All the expensive lands are just going to be like your, bad example, another bad example, a Sacred Foundry or Spectator Seating. So the commander lands where you have 2 or more opponents, shock lands, fetches, and I'm running the Triome. I mean, besides that, the only like weird outliers are a Monk Raceway. So max speed, tap it, target creature gains haste, which is nice. And the Vishkar Raceway, which is 3 tap, discard a card, draw a card, which is nice later on with max speed. But yeah, besides that, like, I am running the road land, so like I think there's country roads, rocky roads, and wild roads. They all just kind of like pay to sack it to make a pilot, and they come in untapped if you have a vehicle or mount, which I'm like, that's probably playable in the deck. Onto the maybe board, these are cards that you could probably take the deck in different directions with. Cloud Spire Coordinator, I just couldn't figure this card out. 2 mana, 3/1, when it enters scry 2. You can tap to make X 1/1 colors pilot creature tokens, where X is the number of mount and or vehicles that enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Then tokens have this token titles, mounts, and vehicles, those power 2 or greater. I don't think this is a great effect. Like, I guess you can make a pilot every turn whenever you play them out, but those don't have haste, so it like doesn't really matter. I think this is a weird card. Doubling Season, I think it's very, very good if you lean into any token strategy. Obviously, Doubling Season is just the one card I added. Anointed Procession, Mondrak, the new Elspeth, Ozurtak are all just token doublers. Like, if you play a more mobilized heavy deck or something, just make 2, which ends up making like 48 or something. I don't know the exact number. But yeah. So yeah, you can take this deck in like a more token based. And yeah, it'll be good. Horde Hauler, 4 mana, 5/5, trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a charge token for each artifact they control. If it was like for each artifact you control, I'd be like, oh, this is a cool card. But also, yeah, it's too dependent on what like the other player has. It is nice that it's a 5/5 with trample, which is why I kind of wanted to add it. But yeah, I think the token with like making treasure based on artifacts they control is a little too specific. Interface Ace is 2 mana, 0/4. It saddles and mounts based on its toughness instead of its power. And then whenever it becomes tapped, untap it. It only triggers once a turn. I think this is a good card. I kind of just didn't put it in the deck because after playing with it for a bit, I realized I don't think I need it. I mean, yeah, if you want to see more like pilots, just play this card. Jetmir is kind of in the deck, or not in the deck, but in the maybe board, because while I was testing, I was seeing how many creatures I was getting out. If you see the right creatures, Getting the third effect of having +1/+0 vigilance, +1/+0 trample, and +1/+0 double strike, as long as you control 9 or more, is realistic. If you see your hamster ball, if you see your Parhelion, it's very easy to go very wide with this deck. If you see some of the other ones, though, it's not as easy, so consistency wise, I just didn't want to put it in. Kona's in the maybe board. It's kind of weird to not play in the main deck, but just checking out one thing when it's tapped is kind of whatever. I don't think the deck really needs it, and there's probably better cards to play. And then Rocketeer Boost Buggy, 2 mana, 3/2. When it attacks, you make a treasure. This is kind of a ramp card, so pay 3, it becomes a artifact creature, and you put a 1/1 on it. It's also crew 1. I'm not really running this because it doesn't get any value out of the commander with reducing it. Like, it becomes big, but it doesn't have trample. So it'd essentially be like you play it on 2, on 3 mana, you make a new artifact creature, you attack with it, you generate 1 more mana, and then on turn 4 you can play your commander. But any amount of ramp just completely screws that up, so I didn't want to play it. I'll quickly go to the Recs. Look what EDH Rec has. Again, this is not like the perfect thing to use. Hazoret, I think, is weird. End Rider Catalyzer, I was thinking about, but I don't really think you need something that taps for 2 mana. Moraganda, I think this card is actually extremely overrated. It taps for Soul Ring if you have max speed. Whatever. Miriam is card advantage. No, I'm thinking of another card. This one gives things +1/+1 counters, which again, didn't really want to go into with this deck specifically. Valor's Flagship, I think is interesting, but the 3 white pips kind of turned me off, and it's just kind of a flying first strike lifelink. You can cycle it to make a bunch of pilots, which is cool, but you don't really care to do that. I think Saram would be good whenever you cast a vehicle spell, draw a card. Mech Hanger as well. Wily Duke, when it's tapped, you gain a life, draw a card. Obviously, other ramp spells, Heroic Intervention, you're in white, so you can play a lot of good protection spells as well. But yeah, that's the entire deck. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with probably not something for this, but something that's just another brew. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.